Welcome to the OTA podcast where we discuss everything performance training. I'm Coach Chris Barnard. Let's get into it. Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the OTA podcast. And for today's episode, what I wanted to discuss is a common question I get within our coaching group. It's the debate between group training versus one-on-one. And I find myself commonly having this. As you guys know, I'm in the private sector, which means I own my own gym. I'm not working within a organization, with athletes. And I give that preface because when you look at group training versus one-on-one and you go down the pros and cons, you could see in making a case for both, but I feel that there's a stronger case for group training. That's hence why I do it. And I believe that there's more pros than cons. So let's kind of get through some of those. And maybe this will help some of you coaches out there kind of develop a different structure for your business. And we've done this with almost all of our coaches within our coaching program, and they've had great success, not only on the results, but on the business side. So if you were to look at pros and cons and go down the line, from a results standpoint, I'm a big fan of the saying iron sharpens iron, right? I also say competition breeds excellence. So when you're in a group-like setting, you got to understand every athlete. Now, if you're putting them in the proper group, right? For me personally, I train a couple different groups throughout the year, but mostly they're basketball, football, and baseball. And they're at the professional or elite level. Some of those guys we put college, hell, we even put some high 4- or 5-star kids in those groups as well in the high school level. But the biggest thing that I notice is, one, all of these athletes have different strengths and weaknesses. And as you work through an off-season program or even through a phase, and you do things such as linear speed or change of direction or power, right? You have different levels of plyometrics. Then you have different levels of strength training. If I have some linebackers in there, they're going to tend to be a little bit stronger, but they're not going to be as fluid maybe in their hips. I also have defensive backs who are ultra fluid, ultra fast, ultra explosive, but they didn't tend, they're more field guys, and they might pull back on the weights. And so when I put these guys together, we could go down the line, right? If I have guys in the trenches, your offensive lineman, your defensive lineman, they're just, some of them could be freaky, some of them could be stupid strong, some of them could be both, a little bit of both. But where I'm getting at is what you're going to see is as we kind of work through the training sessions, guys tend to pick each other up on their strengths and weaknesses because you just can't go soft on certain things and then go hard on other things. And it just raises the level of competition. Now, when I say competition, it doesn't always mean, hey, this is the drill, it's you versus you. What you'll get when you see high-level athletes is unconsciously they're watching the other guys in the group and they're seeing them perform that, and it puts a greater demand. So they're competing with themselves now as they watch another athlete do it great. And they also get to see it done at a high level, right? If I get a DB in here and maybe he was going, we're doing like a barbell reverse lunge. Let's say he was going to put on weight maybe 95 pounds on the bar. And then you get like a backer coming on and, and he's working through 225. It's just human nature. That defensive back is going to step his game up, right? And so I see this down the line with everything. And that's a, kind of example, I guess you could say, of how iron sharpens iron. One of the biggest arguments versus group training versus one-on-one, especially at these elite level guys, is, the attention to detail can slowly start to come down or get watered down. And that's what a lot of coaches tend to say. And while that's true, it's not that I put everybody in the group. For instance, if there's athletes that are dealing with injuries or have severe imbalances or, have been injury prone in the past, it might be something where we need to pull them out of it and give them some extra attention, some extracurricular activities such as, some correctives that are going to support either, the rehabilitation process or the prehabilitation. But the way that I usually mitigate that, and this is where experience, and you can't cheat time, and just as you become better as a coach, there's a level of intuition involved, and there's a level of just knowing your guys. When you get deep in the game, I can go down the line, a group of 20 guys in my football off-season class, and I could tell you what each of them needs. And I can tell you where I'm going to place emphasis. Oh, this guy needs more linear speed. Oh, this guy needs more change of direction, more agility. Oh, this guy needs more strength. Oh, this guy's quads are overdeveloped and I might need to do a little bit more hamstring. Oh, this guy's dealing with a shoulder issue. These are all things that you develop. Now, the key thing that you do in a group setting to kind of combat that argument is we actually, in the beginning of off season, when we're onboarding an athlete, we pull them aside and we do a little bit more extensive of an assessment. This is where we can kind of peel back the covers, take a look at them, take a look at how they move, put them through some different assessments from both a health and from a performance metrics, right? So I want to gather their numbers. I want to have a game plan for that athlete. Hey, this athlete lacks, vertical or horizontal force. That's something that we can really double down on, and we can still put them in a group because the balance of the programming is going to continue to support those things. But I know when I get to that day, I'm placing an emphasis on that athlete to be able to push those things. So through the separate assessment protocol, I'm able to continue to give that attention to detail or customization for each of my athletes. Even though they're coming in and they're entering the same program, I know what strings to push and pull for each athlete to be able to optimize and take a step for them that off season. Now, what's up, coaches? Real quickly, let me go ahead and introduce you to Performance Coach U certification. Now, this is the certification / course that I put together for coaches who want to train athletes and not only get results, but also maximize profits in the private sector. The problem that I saw with a lot of these courses and certifications out there for coaches was that they provided a lot of information and not a lot of application. So I wanted to pull back the covers over 10+ years of experience and show you the ins and outs of actually being in the trenches so that you get maximum results while also scaling your business. So if you're interested in this, go ahead and check out the link down below and you can get more information. When you get into 20 athletes, sure, there's going to be a level of watering down, and it just, again, it depends on what level of coach you are, and what I would suggest is just trying to get better at group training and being able to understand your athletes. The best way to do that is to prepare, have notes on all your athletes, have those sheets there. I, for a long time, used to review all of those before going into each of those sessions, and that just allowed me to continue to harness that ability to memorize and also know what each athlete wants. And then as you continue to go, it becomes an intuition. You can see what athletes are at lower levels and you can raise them up, and you're seeing that real time as you're performing the drills. So the last thing when it comes to competition, as far as like my case for group training from a results standpoint, is I always use the phrase, let the locker room police itself. This is something you kind of get from the college ball setting where it's like the leaders are going to emerge and you want to empower those leaders within the group because they almost become coaches for you and they really set the tone. See, if I'm training a one-on-one, and I'm training an athlete one-on-one, and let's say we're running 4 or 5 sessions a week, that athlete a lot of times session is predicated on my energy, right? Whereas if I'm the coach administering a group training session and I know I have my dogs in there, when I say dogs, like just absolute gritty guys that love to get after training, they're going to raise the level of training and it's not predicated on my energy, right? And so now the programming and the way that they execute the drills and the quality of their repetitions, and if I do happen to input some little competition within, which usually in a bigger group, I'm always trying to finish something out with some level of competition because effort goes through the roof. I get better, I get more effort, I get more quality repetitions, I get them competing, and it's just an overall better session. Whereas, again, the locker room polices itself out there on that training floor. Whereas when it's just one-on-one, it's all based off of my energy. Now, the attention to detail and the minute changes I can make, sure. But I think that it pales in comparison to getting those athletes just absolutely getting after it, making sure you clarify exactly what you're looking for in the drill, and then letting them loose and just get after it. And I do believe that that yields greater results as far as from an effort standpoint. Now, flipping it over, when it comes to a business standpoint, I believe that, without a doubt, you can make a case that I can scale my time in group training versus one-on-one. Now, even if you're working with some of the highest paid athletes in the world, there's only so much that you could charge and really get them to agree to, unless you're a specialist. Now, if you specialize in something, especially on the medical side, and obviously you go up the ranks all the way up to a surgeon, you could scale your time greater working, obviously one-on-one with the athlete. But for us strength and conditioning coaches, it makes more sense for me to lower that cost and then be able to fit more athletes with my experience as a coach in that 1 hour of time, because I can drastically increase how much I make for that hour or 2 hours versus if I'm just one-on-one. And there's really, down the line, my experience with coaches, that's like the number one thing that I do and get coaches to flip over to. And a lot of time it's just a nuance. It's just them having a belief system and not really understanding. And then once they get into it, they train, they might start off with a group of 5, and then all of a sudden they move to 10, 15, and then they have 20 athletes paying, $300 a month. Now your time, for 3 sessions a week, now you've greatly scaled your time versus maybe you were a great coach, a great salesman, because you were able to close an athlete on, $125 per hour. But now you've just exceeded that over, $300 an hour by being able to fit more athletes in that particular time. So from a business standpoint, it just makes more sense. And I think from a results standpoint, I got to give the nod to group training. I've done both in my career. And just over and over again, I believe that group yields better results on both sides of the business and results of delivering for your athletes. So there you have it. I hope that helps some of you coaches out there that are kind of figuring out a structure as far as your coaching business. And yeah, hopefully that helps you guys out. And I'll talk to you guys next time.